Good morning, everyone. That was beautiful. It was a very auspicious beginning to this service to have the audio-video have a technical glitch. That was sometimes how I knew Swamiji was in the room, was that the technology would no longer work. Not all of you know me. My name is Aryavan. I grew up a part of this community here in Palo Alto. And then after college, came back and found Swamiji in India. And one of the things that I got to do was, I actually had a role. I had a job with Swami Kriyananda, and that was of the technical support. Everyone saw me, and they saw me doing videography and recording programs and streaming all of his talks. But when they came and said, we'd like to offer you an actual job, an actual role, that role was of technical support. And I saw things happen with computers that are impossible, that defy logic and physics. I'm a very technical person. I enjoy computers. I've always fiddled with them. And when I would come to see, they would call me and say there's some problem with his computer. I would come in and say, I would look at it, I would just say that's not possible. And yet there it was. And eventually, I had the opportunity to get to play the role of fixing it, even though, of course, it was never me. But it was a good excuse to get to be around Swamiji. And that is what today is about, is celebrating getting to be around Swamiji. Not around him physically, exclusively, because that's not something that is available to us anymore, but about getting to be around his consciousness and celebrating his consciousness and getting to just have an opportunity to really dwell on what was the life of Swami Kriyananda. Why is it that all of us are in this room today? Whether this is your first time or you've been coming for many years, you're in this room because of Swami Kriyananda. And he accomplished many, many things in this world. But of course, the greatest accomplishment in many ways is all of us. The fact that years after he left the body, here we all are still, and many more are coming that never got to meet him in person. A few years ago, many years ago, I think it was while Swamiji was still in the body, our friend Ananda put together a CV, a resume of Swami Kriyananda's accomplishments. I don't know what role he was applying for. Maybe it was just for the role of moksha. I happen to think that if you were applying for that role, for that job of final liberation, your resume would probably look something like Swami Kriyananda's. He wrote many, many books. He wrote many, many songs. He had lectured in, I think, 11 languages. And it was many pages long, which I used to work at the Career Center at my college. And I saw what I thought were some pretty impressive resumes. And then I saw Swamiji's, and I thought, okay, the rest of us are just playing make-believe. But one thing that was not there, and I think that maybe could be added, was Swamiji was the best friend to Aryavan. And I don't mean that personally, because of course, he would be the best friend to each of you. But I've been reflecting a lot on the concept of friendship. What is it to be a good friend when thinking about Swamiji? Because it's true. If anyone asked me who I thought was my best friend, it wouldn't take me long. It was Swamiji. But why? He wasn't someone who I could just go and watch a movie with, although sometimes we did. We didn't have a lot of meals together. We didn't go to the park together that much. We didn't go rollerblading or whatever it is that friends do. That's what I did in the 90s. I don't know if everyone else did. And yet he was still my best friend. Master said that friendship is the highest relationship. It's the highest form of relationship because it's the closest to the relationship that we should have with the divine. And that's because friendship is without self. True friendship is unconditional. They are your friend through thick and thin. They're with you in the good times, they're with you in the bad times. But a true friend isn't even necessarily aware of the good times and the bad times. That's the level of unconditionality that Swamiji brought. For those of you who don't know, I work in education. I'm right now a part of the school here, Living Wisdom School, that is part of the Ananda community. And I've been thinking a lot about, you hear children say things like, oh, they're my best friend. Oh, this is my best friend. Oh, you are my best friend. I can still remember the time in high school, I'm a little ashamed to say, when the person that I considered my best friend introduced me to somebody else as his best friend. That was a very big moment for me. I felt really special. But in reflection, I realized that even that recognition is something that is conditional. And so I looked a little bit younger and younger because I noticed something. You hear, this is something maybe Suryani knows about, you hear, she's our kindergarten teacher at the school, and kindergartners, when you ask them sometimes, who's your best friend? Many of them will say, my teacher. My teacher is my best friend. And on one hand, that's very cute and sweet, and you can think, well, your teacher's not really your best friend. But in a way, the teacher is the highest form of friendship, because each one of the students in that class could honestly say, they are my best friend. And that's the highest, because it's not personal. The teacher's role is to love unconditionally. And that's what makes them. When the child feels that, that's when they realize that this is truly their best friend, somebody who has their true highest interest at heart. Now, Swamiji, of course, was aware of our ultimate highest, which was that we are destined for freedom. And so whenever I saw Swami, I could feel, and I think this is true, bears true for many of you who knew him for a long time, that he could see, he only related to the part of me that was already free. He could see, whether it was a literal thing or not, I'll never know, or I may know someday, but I don't know now, the version of myself that was already there. And then he related to that, he acted accordingly. And that is what gave me that sense of freedom. So I had the blessing to be around him for the last 3.5 years of his life. And when you think about the purpose of life, there was a song of Swamiji's, life is the quest for inner joy. And when I met Swami, I was 22, and I thought to myself, this is somebody who has succeeded in that quest. This is the first person I've ever met who actually found the end of that. The rest of us, we're doing our best, and everyone in the world is seeking inner joy, but the world tells us that we should be satisfied with a little bit of inner joy. We should feel satisfied when things go our way and we feel happy. We should feel satisfied when everything works out, we get the promotion, we get the raise, we get the new job, we have the family, we have the house, and that should give us that satisfaction. But Swami knew better. And so I sometimes think that Master works with our karma a little bit differently. I don't know if you're familiar with the game where there's 3 cups and the ball gets moved around the cup and then you have to choose the ball. And, it's a con man's game. And so when you go, the ball is never in the cup that you are sure it was in. They have a way of switching at the last minute or something like that. It's never in the cup. And you lose. That's the world. Master plays this game with us as well. But instead, we think the ball is in the wrong cup, and he says, look over there, switches it, and now the ball is in the cup that we chose. And that's how I feel that it was with me and Swami Kriyananda, was that I can't imagine that it was deserved, but I got to spend a lot of time around him at the end of his life. And I really tried to take that as consciously as possible. I said, I'm going to be an observer, I'm going to be a scientist. I'm going to try to ascertain through observation what has gotten him to this point. What has made it so that he can be this way? And I look back and see sort of these epochs, these ages of Swamiji's expression. That I didn't get to personally witness all of them, but you can hear talks, you can see recordings. The first section is the America time, I feel. And it was a time when he related very much through wisdom, through jnana. He could draw on an obscure philosopher that no one had heard of to give a perfect example for a talk, or draw on some specific aspect of the eight limbed path of Patanjali to create something. Draw on Sanskrit, German, all of these different things, and beautifully so, and he was relating to the needs of the people around him. Then he moved to Italy. And there was another expression, this one very heart-opening, very devotional. A lot of the most beautiful, especially visually, aspects of Ananda came during that time. The robes that we wear, the Festival of Light, all came during this time of just heart-opening beauty and devotion and bhakti. Then he moved to India. And India, I kind of think of as his Chela phase. He would talk. Every time he spoke, he would say, my guru, my master, Guruji. He would refer everything directly back to the guru. And that was a combination of jnana and bhakti in a way. He would bring high esoteric concepts, but he did it with a beautifully open heart. I came at the end, and this was right when Swamiji started to travel more and spend time in all three of those places. And he also founded the Nayaswami order. And this time I think of as his bliss phase. But bliss, because in many ways, Swamiji, and this I heard from many of the people who knew him for a long time, he stopped, let me how to put this. Asha asked him once that she felt intuitively that he had actually always been the same, but he had expressed his way differently in different situations to allow all of us to be able to relate to him, but that his consciousness had actually always been basically here at the very top. And Swamiji basically said, yes, that's true. But this was the phase that I got to come into where he was expressing it openly. He was in bliss at all times. But bliss is sometimes a difficult concept to understand or communicate. And so I tried to find a corollary, something that I could relate to, a metaphor that would help me understand what it was that I was seeing. And that for me is of the concept of childlike joy. So we're talking about Swamiji's expression of many qualities, but the one that I saw the most presently was childlike joy. I'd like to take a moment to define that a little bit, though. Again, using the children. There is a child in the kindergarten who I'll call Mary, and she is a living personification of childlike joy. Sometimes I find myself just hanging out in aftercare after school is done, even when somebody else is on, so that I can be around the youngest ones. And the other day we were walking around, and she just has this amazing enthusiasm, this amazing light in her eyes, and she doesn't really walk anywhere. She when she knows where she's going, she runs there as fast as she can. And there's always just a big smile on her face. Sometimes she has so much enthusiasm and joy, she'll say something like, oh, this is amazing, and then she'll even just make this sound, that, which is like, to me, this pure expression of crystallized enthusiasm and joy. We spent 20 minutes, half an hour the other day, just looking at a bush for berries. And we couldn't find any. And I thought, it's like, okay, well, there are no berries. But that's not how she thought. She was just constantly looking for more. Oh, there's none here. She'd step over here. Oh, there's none here. She stood behind the bush. Oh, there's none here. She went in all different areas. But the whole time she had this amazing smile and joyfulness in her expression. And when we finally found a berry, she was so happy and overjoyed. We started looking at leaves. She started picking up leaves and say, feel this one, this one's fuzzier than this one. Ooh, this is the most fuzzy one, isn't it soft? Now, we have been trained as adults sometimes to see that as something that is appropriate for small children. But now, taking it back to Swamiji, I met him when he was in his 80s, and in many ways he was the same. he would look at the world not in terms of, oh, this is good, this is bad, this is up, this is down, you are an American, you are an Indian. Everything was just something to enjoy. I remember I was with him in a particularly physically challenging stage of his life. He had had a fall and he hurt his hip. And one of the ways that I found myself in his orbit was I was relatively young, I was relatively strong, and I was relatively expendable. And so I didn't need sleep. And so I got to spend the night sometimes lying on his floor in case he needed help. And I remember it was clear that he was in physical pain. It wasn't like he wasn't aware of that, or the body wasn't experiencing it. But every time I saw him, even when he was in pain, he was smiling. And it wasn't just like a smile like sometimes you see me smile if I'm in pain, but it's a grimace. It was an effortless, enjoyable smile. It was as if he was looking at a fuzzy leaf and saying, look at how amazing this is. Or looking at a berry in a bush and saying, look at how bright that is. Or just running around and enjoying the wonder that is life. This is one of the qualities that we try to prize in education for life, especially in the area of science, but also just in terms of looking at the world around you, is that of awe. We were born to be in awe. We are at our closest to God when we're in awe. When you hear Swamiji, in all of his music, I see so much imagery about the beauty of simple things, of a rainbow, of a green field, of a leaf. God is simple, all else is complex. And Swamiji lived that for us, going back to the idea of, being a little bit beyond the body. There was one time in that period where we had to lift him. He was in a wheelchair, and we had to lift him up the stairs. And granted, our job was a little bit harder. We were the ones doing the heavy lifting. But there was Jyotish, there was me, there were others, and it was a narrow stairwell, and we were just trying to lift him. And we knew that every movement was causing him pain. But I remember looking up, and we're sweating, we're straining, this is the whole thing, and he just had this beatific smile on his face. He would sometimes make jokes to me when he was in important meetings. He had a lot of responsibility. He had given the day-to-day operations of Ananda to Jyotish and Devi, but they still came to him whenever there were challenges and problems, and these were serious things. Interpersonal conflicts, issues around money, the big things. And even then, he would take the time, well, first of all, I would notice in those meetings, he would often they would all be discussing the challenge, and he would just look around at each of them, just smiling, as if he's just enjoying this amazing show that was taking place in front of him. And then he would look over at me, and he'd like wink, or make like a little thing, as if, it's all a dream. And that's the thing that I feel that Swamiji exemplified the best was, what is the attitude of a disciple? A lot of times we think that joy is the thing that's going to come to us if we do everything right, if we do all of our techniques right, if we follow, all of the precepts in Raja Yoga. It is true. But he also said, if you want to feel joy in meditation, meditate with joy. Put the joy first. And that's what I see. When these children are expressing joy, they're doing it in such a present way, in such a pure way, that they're not aware of anything else. They are fully in the moment. They are fully right now. And whether they would ever say it or not, when I see them, I see someone experiencing God at the same level that I saw it in Swamiji. It's one of those things that we tend to lose as we grow up. A lot of times in Education for Life, which is the philosophy we talk about, that we use in Living Wisdom schools, we try to instill, to offer, to develop qualities in children that are ennobling, that will help them to lead a successful life. But what I've come to realize, especially spending time around young ones, is that it's actually the opposite. We come in with a childlike joy, and then we forget how to access it. We learn new habits, which are actually wrong habits. We forget that life is actually meant to be enjoyed. The first rule of Living Wisdom School, we have a set of rules, is enjoy yourself. When you enjoy yourself, you are in joy. And that actually is the experience of God. Swamiji's example wasn't only for himself, although it was his last incarnation, or at least I should say his last compelled incarnation, according to Yogananda. But he showed us the path to it is not necessarily one of strain, one of tension, one of angst, one of will I get to the goal. It's the simple appreciation of the moment and of the joy that lives within it. And so much of what we do as we grow up and as we help children to grow up is to help them remember this is important, this is valuable, this is what you should be focused on. Don't forget, your life was made for joy. And karma comes in and things come in and we do forget. But by planting those seeds when they're young, they have a better chance of remembering. Now, what about us? With this information, it sounds all good for them, but we're not 5 any longer. I think that one of the best things that we can do, because this is, after all, Swamiji's birthday, and we're all supposed to come here and give him a gift. He gave us the gift of the example of his life, but we want to give something back. It's only natural for someone who has given us so much. And I think that the best gift that we can give, actually, is to live as a child, to live in that childlike joy, to take special moments throughout the day, or at least throughout the week, where we say, I'm actually going to revel in the world. I'm going to see the beauty in everything that I see, in everyone that I meet. I'm going to see this challenge as an opportunity to feel more joy. I'm going to do something that I enjoy today. I'm going to turn off my phone and I'm going to go sit under a tree or sit by a stream and just be. The secret of laughter lies in the laughing, not in the search for joy. I mean, I can't really say it much better than that, but I had to because I had to say something. This is the secret. It's not we do all of these things so that we can experience childlike joy. It's that we should remember that we are children, that we're always children of God. Whenever we met Swamiji, when Swamiji left, somebody said something very interesting, one of his longtime devotees. It might have actually been Asha, who said, it felt when he left the body like the only adult on the planet left. And that has a lot of truth in it, but the good news is it means we're all children, and that means we get to act like it. So let's let our gift to Swamiji on his birthday be, let's follow his example. Let's not lose sight of the goal, that we are children of God, that we are meant to enjoy. Find those things that bring you that childlike joy, that wonder, that awe. Allow yourself to be caught up in that, and then Swamiji will be happy. Suffer little children to come unto me, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. Joy to you. Happy birthday, Swamiji. For fun, we're going to have just one more video. This is a short compilation. It includes some of the clips we saw in the earlier video, but it's just a compilation of Swamiji laughing. There's no story, there's no narrative. It's just a series of expressions of laughter. So if you feel to, you may watch. I can also encourage you, if you feel to close your eyes and feel the tone of that laughter. Feel the effortless, childlike tone that he shared in his laughter, and let it creep deep inside your heart.